Hello, this is Mike at GameFromScratch, and now that I mostly have my voice back, welcome to a special Halloween edition of This Week in Game Development. A quick recap of the news and events in the world of game development for the week ending October the 31st, 2016. Now this is going to be basically a rundown of what happened in the world of game development, and there's going to be a link down below to all of the links we discuss here. So if you want more details, jump on the comments down below. You will see a link, and everything I look at here will be available there. So let's jump in. First off, we start off with INKSCAPE 0.92 was released. Now INKSCAPE is an open source vector graphics based graphics package, completely free. I forget what license it's actually under. It might be GPL, it might be one of the nasty open source licenses, but still open source, all the code's available for you, completely free to use commercially. A great little package. And this update, the 0.92 update, brings a couple of nice improvements. SVG2 and CSS3 properties are now properly supported for rendering. New path effects, among them envelope perspective, lattice deformations, mirror and rotate copies. Guides can now be locked to avoid moving them. New object dialog, it allows you to select, label, hide, and lock any object in the drawing. Selection now has grouping, a new spray tool with several new nifty features. B-splines, which I believe you can see in action over here, are available now in the pen tool. Checkerboard background can be used to more easily see object transparencies, and open type font functionality was added. So you can now get much smoother type as a result out of INKSCAPE. Very impressive update, actually. So if you are using INKSCAPE, do be sure to check that out. And if you're not using INKSCAPE, you probably should check it out. It's a great little package. Another game engine release this week was Unreal Engine 4.14 preview was released. Again, this is a preview, so that means it is, expect there to be dragons. It will be a buggy release potentially, so if you are afraid of that, do wait for the official release to come out. A couple of major features in this guy. First off was a forward renderer for VR was added. Now, forward rendering is an alternative to the traditional deferred rendering. Basically, actually a little bit beyond going into a really good explanation here, but what it does is it defers some of the processing till the very end, and then what you can do is do rapid shading on the results before they get sent out. I'm actually going to do a video on shaders to kind of clear a lot of this up, but essentially what forward shading or forward rendering potentially enables you to do is much faster effects such as lighting effects, because you're not working on a per pixel level, you're working on a per image level. So you can get some really nice performance improvements out of forward shader rendering. So that's the feature there. There's automatic LOD generation. LOD is basically a level of detail. So as you get further away from the vantage point, the eye or the camera, whatever, the mesh used has a whole lot less polygons because you don't need the detail. Definitely a nice feature. And it's one that's in almost every game engine. I'm actually kind of shocked that that took a while to get here. Reflection capture, light maps, contact shadows, live GPU profiler is now available, provides per frame stats for the major rendering categories, great for debugging your rendering performance. NVIDIA Ansel support, I'm not sure what Ansel actually is. I should look that one up, to be honest. Number of updates across the thing. Basically, there's too much to cover here. There's a whole lot going on. Visual Studio 2015 and Visual Studio 15, the newest version in development, are both supported now, which is nice. VR Editor has been updated, landscape tools have been updated, and then various platform updates as well. So a lot in that particular release. Now, if you want to get it, you can again get it using the Epic Game Launcher. But again, this is a preview release, so do expect some bugs. And on the topic of game engine patches, we also had a Unity patch 5.4.2p1. And ultimately, I'll spoiler it a bit, there's also 5.42 P2 was released this week. Not a whole lot in either one, to be honest, both mostly bug fix releases, etc. But again, nice to see the improvements coming as rapidly as they are with both Unreal and Unity these days. Another game engine, this isn't quite a release, this is more of a, hey, this is coming soon thing, is the Xenko game engine, previously the Paradox 3D game engine, has announced that VR support is coming. They've been slowly working towards this over the last little while by redoing their underlying rendering system, ironically adding forward clustered rendering. You're going to see this as a trend in game engines. It's kind of the way things are going. And there's always slightly different naming conventions going on there, but forward rendering is kind of the new hotness when rendering. But they're basically been retooling things to get VR support, and basically they say that it is going to be coming quote-unquote soon. Now, in my opinion, even though the VR headsets haven't sold exceptionally well yet, VR isn't the most exciting thing that it was kind of promised to be in some ways, I do think it is the bullet point feature for game engines. It's the one feature that if a game engine doesn't have it, people probably won't commit to it, because there's a lot of times your development is a good 2 to 3 years down the road, or even a year down the road. So you're going to want to support the platforms that potentially are a year out, and VR is definitely one of those. So seeing this VR support coming soon to the Xenko engine is a good step. It actually would be important to me as well. Now, they've only so far formally announced Oculus Rift support, so it'll be interesting to see how many headsets they're actually going to support out of the box. These days, I think you pretty much need to support the big 2, possibly the big 3, and coming up in this news, now there's actually going to be the big 4. So basically, you've got the Oculus Rift, the Gear VR, which is still powered by Rift, but is a much simpler setup, and then the HTC Vive. Those are probably the big 3, and then we'll talk about the 4th in a few minutes. Another game engine released this week was CopperCube 5.5. Now, CopperCube is a cross-platform, was one of those codeless kind of approaches to game engines. It's built by the same guy that did the IRR Licht free open source game engine. I think that's actually the technology underlying the CopperCube game engine. So it's really aimed at people that don't want to program, although you still can. You can jump in and code your game using JavaScript. Now, the things that come in this particular release, at least the commercial version of it, well, first off, there is automatic Steam integration. Is just built in now, so you can get access to Steam overlay, Steam achievements, etc. without programming. It's just supported now. New first-person controller, and then probably one of the biggies is they've added source code for the client, so like the game that embeds your scripts. So now the C++ source code is available to subscribers. The Flash client code is now available, and then there's a few other updates in this guy. They Android multi-touch support on 2D overlays, Android first-person camera shooter improvements, scripting extension, and probably one of the biggies of this one is there is now a price update. CopperCube Basic Edition is now €69 from €99, and the Professional Edition now costs $358 from a previous price of $380. And then a number of smaller bug fixes. If this is an engine you actually want me to check out, please do let me know. It's one of those ones I could potentially look into. I haven't actually done a lot with CopperCube to this point in my life, so I'm actually a little interested in seeing how it works out. So if you do have some interest, please let me know in the comments down below. Another kind of release from Unity, wasn't formally part of a particular dot version release, but they released the open source asset bundle tool prototype. Now, asset bundles is a way of basically adding non-game specific data and making it available over HTTP. A lot of people would use this for store items, for possibly leaderboards, things that were kind of outside of the game that you needed to download at runtime. But you had to create an asset bundle per platform, which was a bit of an annoyance. And what they've basically done is created a tool to make them available to you. So that's definitely nice to see. Another release this week was SIMPLYGON was announced that they've now got a free indie license and an Unreal Engine 4 installer. Now, this one kind of comes at a bit of a funny time, because one of the big things that SIMPLYGON actually offers is automatic LOD support. So that was one of the things that was actually just added to Unreal Engine, as we mentioned just a few moments ago. But there's more to SIMPLYGON than that. It's actually been used in tons and tons and tons and tons of AAA games, including Witcher 3, Paragon, and the Forza Horizon series. So this is a very well-adopted technology. And what SIMPLYGON essentially is a mesh optimizer. What it does is it takes your game assets and optimizes them to run as fast as possible. One of the ways it does that is level of detail generation support by creating different meshes for different differences, for different distances, sorry. But on top of that, it does a lot more. It re-optimizes and organizes your UV layouts. It will take duplicate textures into a single one. It will optimize your textures to be as efficient as possible. We'll even get into your shaders to make your shaders perform better. And the whole idea behind this is to minimize the number of draw calls that your graphics card has to make and essentially increase your frame rates. And what we're talking about here is, I think they're talking the averages in the neighborhood of 30%. Now, they did claim that it's free, which is a little strange because they've actually not really free. There's a small royalty attached, and the small royalty is 2% royalty after the first $25,000 per quarter revenue. So if you make more than $25,000 per revenue, sorry, 25,000 revenue per quarter, you now will pay 2% after that first store. So if you made 100 grand, you would pay 2% of $75,000. Now keep in mind, this is on top of the Unreal Engine royalty, which I think is around, was it 6%? I don't know, I'm pulling that number out of the air, to be honest. So it is additional royalty there. Now you can also, if you're talking a commercial level game, you can easily buy it via another means, but you're going to have to be talking a huge amount of sales to probably be a better price than that. They've also have their technology available at a $400 per month for small and medium-sized non-game companies. Again, if you're a non-game company, that's not going to be particularly interesting. Sorry, this blog is probably not that interesting to you. But that's for basically people that are doing architectural visualization, that kind of stuff. So they've also more tightly integrated it directly into Unreal Engine 4, so makes it very easy to get up and going. It's available in the marketplace. Another game technology release this week was Substance Painter 2.4 was released. Substance Painter is a physically based rendering based texturing tool. I'm a big fan of it. I did a closer look at it in my, actually no, it's featured in my toolbox series. It's a great way to recreate real world textures for painting on your 3D models. It's a very cool tool. Now the big thing in the 2.4 release was an updated shelf. So they've basically really updated the UI, make it more organized, better organization, etc. They also added 4 new particle presets, so electric circuit, electric lines, Rocco, and small veins. But the shelf improvements are probably the biggie thing here. Now, one thing that I should note, and I didn't do a news post on this, but they also followed this up immediately by a 2.4.1 release, which fixed some bugs that they introduced. So do make sure you get the newest update, because apparently they had a couple of glitches in the 2.4 release for the shelf update. Now, another piece of news this week, and the big part, I actually missed this one. Part of my fevered, sicky thing. I probably missed the biggest game development news story of the last week, and we'll jump into that in a second. But as part of it, Unity just introduced holographic emulation. Now that sounds a lot cooler than it actually is, but what it allows you to do, you can see it right here, is simulate your AR games or your HoloLens games directly in the editor. They've also got the ability to run it on the device. So this creates a much faster turnaround development cycle. And on that particular topic, well, here's the biggie news. Microsoft released HoloLens probably about 2 months ago as a development kit. It was over $1,000. It was sort of here's what we're going with. You want to get started developing now, or for people like such as I think the Belgian military, for example, actually integrated these, and it's their augmented reality and virtual reality technology. When they said this isn't a product yet and it will be coming soon. Well, their most recent announcement, where they announced some very cool new Surface Books, they also announced that they're going to be making VR headsets with HP, Dell, Lenovo, and others in the works that are going to work with Windows 10. So this is the HoloLens technology coming to us. And look at this one. We'll start retailing at $299. So PlayStation VR is about $600 or $800 with the full kit. That's basically the same price for a full decked out Rift, and it's about the same price for the HTC Vive. So we're kind of looking at the $600 to $800 range to get into VR, and pretty much they're coming out with technology at $300, and they're going to bring it through a number of different actual hardware companies. So you're going to see more competition in that market space. It's pretty impressive. Like, this is literally half price or better, and it's not going to require a separate room. So right here, they're basically saying inside-out tracking. Microsoft said this allows the headset to track users' movement without any additional sensors. So you don't need a Kinect-style bar. You don't need the camera that is required by the PlayStation. You don't need to set up special sensors like the Vive or the Rift potentially enable. So this is not only the cheapest, but is potentially the most turnkey. So it'll be impressive to see how this actually turns out. And it's going to be a combination of both VR and AR, which is augmented reality, or holographics essentially. So It's interesting to see how this one turns out, but Microsoft may have just won VR Wars out of nowhere. So that's kind of a cool announcement right there. Another game engine release this week was Cocos Creator 1.3 was released. Now, Cocos Creator is a JavaScript-based game engine and editor aimed at the web for game development, built over top of the Cocos 2DX game framework. Now, I've done tutorials on Cocos 2DX C++ based library, and I also did a hands-on video with Cocos Creator shortly after it was released. Now, the Cocos Creator 1.3 release brings us some new functionality, including rich text support, which is very handy for internationalization, different character sets, etc., and a lot more support over exactly how these things are set up. It also adds Dragon Bones skeletal animation file support. Dragon Bones is an open-ish source, but freely available spine alternative for doing 2D-based animations using sprites. Prefab automatic synchronization, new UI controls, including a page view toggle group, and slider, plus a new audio engine. Now, one of the big things about this particular release, though, you need to be aware of, is the editor is no longer supporting Windows 32-bit. So you need to be 64-bit install of Windows to make use of the editor now. I'm not sure how many people aren't moved on to a 64-bit version at this point in time, so it's probably not going to be a huge deal. And our final bit of news was LWJGL, which stands for Lightweight Java Graphics Game Library. 3.1 was released. Now, LWJGL is the underlying technology that is used by LWJGL for its cross-platform desktop implementation. So basically, OS X, Windows, Linux, etc. And what LWJGL basically is a wrapper layer between most of the lower level technologies needed for games and Java in a cross-platform manner. So what it does is it wraps over libraries such as OpenGL, OpenGL-ES, OpenAL, OpenCL, and Vulkan, and a couple of others. Bindings were also added as well. And that's what a big part of this release was, updating to the more current versions of these various different library bindings, updating the Java docs, and then a couple of improvements across the board. Now, at the end of the day, not a whole lot of people are using LWJGL directly. They're actually using a library that depends on LWJGL. So this is, if you're using Java for game development on the desktop, even if you don't know it, probably somewhere behind the scenes you are using LWJGL somewhere, but you're going to have to wait for your particular game engine to actually update to use this. Or at the same time, if you are writing a game engine in Java, you will probably want to be using LWJGL. So that is the newest update from them, and that is it for this week and a little bit more in game development. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you found that useful. Once again, down below in the comments, there is a link to all of the links we just discussed today. If you did enjoy that, please do click like, and if you like game development news, tutorials, reviews, etc., please do click subscribe. We do this kind of stuff all week long. All right, see you all later. Goodbye.